Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for doing this. I want to ask about Sri Lanka and also about Honduras. I have a Ukraine question, unless someone else wants to ask it. But as I'm sure you've seen, Sri Lanka has made a $1.5 billion currency swap with China, and I wanted to ask what you think of that. It's portrayed as a way of Sri Lanka as being is resistant to an IMF program. India was requiring an IMF program of sort in order to go forward with them. Just what's your sense of that? And the Honduras one, I don't know if you'll have an answer, but I've been covering in the Southern District of New York courthouse. There's a case about it goes to the very top of the government, and it seems, although there's yet to be a verdict, so you may not answer it on that ground, there seems to be a sense that to the top of the government that is intertwined with narco traffickers. And if you won't comment on that, how does the IMF monitor judicial proceedings such as these in terms of how it relates to their interactions with the government and what safeguards should perhaps be in place? Thanks.
Thanks, Matthew. Just on your last question on relating to Honduras, as I just said in answering the previous questions, we don't comment on judicial proceedings, so I don't really have much to add on that. I can talk to you about Sri Lanka, and you mentioned Ukraine. I see a question from Rodrigo Campos of Reuters also on Ukraine. So let me take those. On Sri Lanka, just a reminder, the Extended Fund Program with the IMF was approved in 2016. That expired last year, June 2020. We did receive a request from the Sri Lankan authorities for emergency financial support to help fight the COVID pandemic. The assessment of that support has taken longer than for other countries due to Sri Lanka's daunting economic challenges and high public debt. So we have sought but not reached understanding on how to fulfill the key requirements for what could be a rapid financing instrument, which would include policies to continue ensuring debt sustainability. To address the balance of payment challenges, including from the COVID-19 impact on tourism, and to preserve international reserves, indeed, Sri Lanka has relied on import restrictions since last year and recently introduced additional measures such as a requirement to convert 25% of export proceeds. We continue to closely monitor these economic policy financial developments in Sri Lanka, including a recent agreement on a swap line with the People's Bank of China. That's on Sri Lanka. On Ukraine, Matthew,
I'll say what mine is, and maybe Rodrigo will add his in.
Go ahead.
There's a controversy in which the deputy head of the central bank has said publicly that she was in a way censored by the central bank. That she did an interview, and that she was then told to retract the statements, or there was a new policy of not speaking. And although obviously, I don't know if this will also be something you won't comment on, but what does it mean in terms of the independence of the central bank if they need to, if it's true that they are censoring their own deputy head of the bank?
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. I think it is essentially the same question from Rodrigo of Reuters, who's asking how concerned are you about the prospects for central bank independence? Just the independence of central banks is a vitally important principle for the IMF for all countries. So, I begin by saying that the independence of the National Bank of Ukraine is one of the areas we are monitoring very closely because, again, the independence of the central bank is key to macroeconomic stability, to investor confidence, financial stability, protection of the financial system, and so on. So, again, it's an issue of vital importance for us. I would add equally that preserving the integrity, the independence, and effectiveness of Ukraine's anti-corruption institutions are also crucial preconditions for investment and growth, and a requirement under the current IMF-supported program, on which the status of which discussions continue. So thanks very much for those questions.